I want to give a special thanks to the people over at Alfa Network for sending me all of these products. Now, I've already done videos in the past on these two adapters right here, and I just received these three adapters from Alfa Network. I'm going to do a separate video just on this adapter right here. This is the AWUS036ACM. As you can see, it has 4 adjustable antennas on it, and it is a powerhouse of a Wi-Fi adapter. The focus of this video, however, is going to be on this adapter right here. This is the AWUS036ACM. Now, that's not to be confused with another adapter also made by Alfa that looks almost identical to this one, and that is the AWUS036AC. One ends in AC, the other one ends in ACM. And if you look closely at the adapters, it's almost impossible to tell the two adapters apart, other than the fact that one has AC on the front and the other one has ACM on the front. Now, even though these adapters look identical, there is a very important difference between the two that you have to understand, especially if you're using Linux. The AWUS036AC is using a Realtek chipset. Usually, Alfa adapters that are using the Realtek chipset are going to require additional drivers to be installed, and I have done several videos on this. Now, the AWUS036ACM is using a MediaTek chipset. Typically, Alfa adapters that are using a MediaTek chipset can be used out of the box on Linux. Okay, so let's head over to the home page for Alfa Network. This is at alfa.com.tw. And over here on the home page for Alfa, we have various products that they sell. If we scroll down a little bit, we come to this area that is Kali Linux compatible Wi-Fi USB adapter. And you see that we have various adapters here. So if you want to get information about any of these adapters, including the chipset, you can go straight to the source by coming to this website. We have the adapter we're looking at, which is the AWUS036ACM. And if we click on this, it'll take us to this page. And if we scroll down once again to the specifications, you will see that for the chipset, it is saying MT7612U. That MT is short for MediaTek. First thing that I'm going to do inside of my terminal is I'm going to run dmessage with sudo privileges and -w. And once I get that up and running, we are going to plug in the adapter. So in my lower pane, I'm going to run sudo dmessage with a -w. The -w just keeps dmessage open and running so that we receive input as it comes in. And we're doing that because we want to see the input as it comes in when we plug in the adapter to our system. So I'll start that up, and now I will plug in the adapter. And immediately you see that we have output on the screen. It registers the adapter. We have a new high-speed USB device. We have various product and vendor identification strings. And for manufacturer, it is telling us that this is MediaTek. For manufacturer, this is referring to the chipset, not the manufacturer of the adapter, which is Alfa, but to the chipset, which is MediaTek. We also have a generic serial number, and at the very bottom on the last line, we have a reference to the driver that is in use, which is the MT76XTU. So in the upper pane, I'll run the ls USB command, and if I do a what is on ls USB, we get back that it is used to list USB devices. So rather than list everything and show you everything on my system connected via USB, I'll run ls USB and I'll pipe that into grep. and I am going to do a -I for case insensitivity, and that allows me to do an uppercase or a lowercase and still find the string of interest. And I'm going to grep for MediaTek, and we get back an entry, and this is pertaining to our ACM Alpha adapter that is plugged into my computer. So you're going to hear me repeat this over and over again. I'm constantly referring to the chipset, and I'm showing you numerous ways that you can find out the chipset of your adapter. So you see in red, MediaTek. Here is a reference to the driver. And if we want to get even more information about this adapter, we can run ls USB with a -V for verbosity and a -S to specify a specific device. And then we need to look to the output of ls USB to determine what bus and device number this adapter is on. So it says here that it's on bus 1 as device 20. So I'll do 1:20. And that gives us a lot more information about this adapter. So we have a lot more information about this adapter now. And if we quickly scroll through it, we'll see that it supports what is called LPM, or Link Power Management. And we also have some information about various operating speeds. So the device can operate at full speed at 12 megabytes per second, high speed at 480 megabytes per second, and super speed at 5 gigabytes per second. And we also see at the very bottom that remote wake up is enabled on this adapter. So we wouldn't have known that had we not been able to run this command. So a couple other ways that we can find out information about the adapter, such as the chipset that is in use, would be to run the lshw command. So if I do a what is on lshw, we get back that it is used to list hardware. I'll do sudo lshw and a -C, and then provide it with a class. That class will be network. And it gives me back information on all of the wireless cards, including the one that is on the motherboard of my computer. So we'll skip over that one, which is Intel, and we'll go down a couple. Each entry is denoted by an asterisk. So right here is the entry referring to our Alpha adapter. And we have the logical name, which is the name of the interface. And in the configuration line, we have, once again, a reference to the driver in use, which is MT76XTU. Another very useful command that we can run is going to be airmon-ng. If I do a what is on airmon-ng, we will get back that it is a POSIX SH script designed to turn wireless cards into monitor mode. Now, later we will put this adapter into monitor mode, but we can use this command just to get some good information back on the adapter. So if I run airmon-ng with sudo privileges and no options, it'll give us back a listing of all of the adapters here, starting with the one attached to my motherboard, which is Intel. And then right here on the second line, we have our Alpha adapter. And here's the name of the interface. Here is the driver, and here is the chipset. Okay, so I can run iwconfig. That will list out my wireless interfaces, and here is the interface for our Alpha adapter. So I'll go ahead and copy that. And what we're going to do is we are going to take a look at the MAC address of the adapter. So I'm going to use MAC changer. If I do a what is on MAC changer, it's a MAC changer. If you do not have this installed, it's simple to install. Just run the command sudo apt install MAC changer. I can pull up the help menu with MAC changer -h. And to show the MAC address, we use -lowercase That'll print the MAC address out. So I'll run MAC changer with a dash lowercase s and provide it with the name of the interface. And hit enter. And that gives us the current MAC and the permanent MAC, which are both the same right now because I have not changed the MAC address. So what we see is that this is the MAC address for an Alfa device. Now to break this down a little bit further, the MAC address is split into two parts. It is the first half, which is this half right here, that pertains to the vendor, which is Alfa. The second half pertains to the specific device itself. So I have this second Alfa adapter, and I'll go ahead and plug that in now. And in the lower pane, we see output being registered to the screen. And we can get the name of the interface right here. So I'll go ahead and copy that. And once again, this is also using a MediaTek chipset. So if I want to get the MAC address for this second Alfa adapter that I plugged in, I'll run that same command and give it the interface of this adapter. And what we see is that the first half of this MAC address is identical to that of the other adapter. So I'm showing you this so you have a better understanding of how MAC addresses work for these adapters. The first half is always going to be the same for an Alfa adapter. But if we look at the second half, you can see it is the second half that differs from device to device. Okay, so if I want to change the MAC address of our Alfa adapter, it's very simple. I just rerun that command and I'm going to do a dash lowercase r, and this will randomize the MAC address of the adapter. Now you see that the new MAC is listed at the bottom and it is unknown or randomized. Now if I rerun the dash s command to show the current MAC address, you'll see that the current MAC address is randomized and the permanent MAC address is the previous address, which is the real burnt in address. Now if we want to go back to the permanent address from the randomized address, we can just substitute the dash r for a dash lowercase p, and that'll bring it back to the permanent MAC address. Now, since both of these adapters are using MediaTek chipsets and they are both made by Alfa Network, I thought it would be interesting to compare the two in terms of performance and strength of the Wi-Fi signal. As you can see, this one has one antenna, whereas this one has two antennas. And they are comparable in price range. Now if we take a closer look at the AWUS036ACM adapter, you see that it has two adjustable antennas and they screw on and off. So you can swap the antenna out for a longer antenna if you would like, and you can replace them if they break. At the bottom, we have a cap. We can remove the cap and that exposes the USB 3.0 interface. From here, you can just connect it directly to your computer or to your laptop. Here's an example of how I connect it to my laptop. You can see that it connects right to the side, and in general, it looks very cool. Or you can use the provided USB 3.0 extender cable. This can be very useful to get extra length and range on your adapter. So if I want to use it with the extender cable, then I simply plug the adapter into the end of the cable like that, and then plug the other end of the cable into my USB port. Now we still have access to the rest of the USB ports on the side of the laptop, and we also have a longer range on the adapter. And we're going to be using a couple command line utilities. Most of these are going to be encompassed in the package referred to as wireless tools. So I can do an apt info on wireless tools, and we'll get back a description. This is a set of tools used for manipulating Linux wireless extensions. And we're also going to use a command line utility called Wavemon. So if you don't have that installed, it's simple. Just run the command sudo apt install Wavemon. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a hotspot using one of my mobile devices, and then we're going to connect to that hotspot using our Alfa adapter and take a look at the signal strength and in general the performance of the adapter. Now we're using this Alfa ACM adapter, and I have had to install no additional drivers, so this is working out of the box. Now I like to use a command line utility to connect to the network, and that is NMTUI. But first, let me make sure that the Wi-Fi is enabled and working properly. So to do that, I'll run NMCLI and general. So we do see that Wi-Fi is enabled. So I'll go ahead and run NMTUI. Now first, if I do a what is on NMTUI, this is a text user interface for controlling network manager. So we will run NMTUI, and it opens up this pseudo graphical user interface. It's kind of a cross between straight text and a GUI. It's called ncurses based, and we will activate a connection. And it's the very first access point in our list, and it is called Fresh Forensics. So let me go ahead and put in the password for that. And we are now connected to the hotspots. So I will back out of this and quit. Okay, so now if I run ifconfig, I should have an IP address, and I do. So our adapter is now connected to the hotspots. So from this point, there's a couple different command line utilities that we can use to display information about the signal strength and the performance. I like NMCLI. If I do a what is on NMCLI, get back that it is a command line tool for controlling network manager. So if I just type NMCLI and tab, it'll pull up the different classes. So I'll do NMCLI device and status, and we have our device up here. It is Wi-Fi, the state is connected, and here is the connection. It's connected to an access point called Fresh Forensics. Now I can also do NMCLI device Wi-Fi, and that will give me information not just on the access point that I'm connected to, but on other access points that I could potentially connect to. Now after running NMCLI device Wi-Fi, we can get some information from this. So the hotspot that I'm connected to is denoted by an asterisk over here on the left hand side under in use. And we have the BSSID, the SSID or the network name, and we have the channel. So this is using 5 gigahertz and channel 149. We have our bit rate, and we have our signal, which is 86. Now in this example, a higher number is going to mean that there is a better signal. Now we can also get the Wi-Fi signal strength using IW. If I do a what is on IW, this is used to show or manipulate wireless devices and their configuration. So I can run IW and tab, and once again we see different classes. So first I will run sudo IW dev to get the different interfaces, and I'm going to identify my interface, which is going to be right here. Now we get some information back from this, such as the channel, once again 149. We have the TX power. Now that I have the name of the interface, I'll rerun that command and put the name of the interface in there, and finally link. And this gives us some very specific information about our signal strength as well as the connection. Here's the signal, which is -36 dBm. Now for this value, a value closer to 0 means a stronger signal. So -36 or -36 is going to be better than, say, a -40. We can also just run IWconfig. That will also tell us the frequency. the mode it's in, which is managed, the bit rate, TX power, as well as the RX and TX. And you can actually get a little bit more information if you run iwconfig with sudo privileges. So if I rerun that with sudo, we get one additional line, which pertains to the encryption. Another useful command would be to run nmcli connection. And I'll first run that with show, and it will show me any of my connections. And we see that we have the UUID, and here is the name of our connection, Fresh Forensics. So I'll go ahead and copy that and rerun that command and paste in the name of the connection in double quotation marks. And now we get back an abundance of information pertaining to the network connection. And I can hit space and it will continue to go down the list. So I'll queue for quit. Now the last one that I'm going to show you is definitely my favorite, and this is Wavemon. So if I do a what is on Wavemon, we get back that it is a wireless network monitor. I can run Wavemon with a -H to pull up the help menu. We're going to use -i and specify the network interface. I'll grab that from down below from the D message that is running in the lower pane. And we're going to run the command sudo wavemon a -i and specify that interface and hit enter. And this is definitely my favorite. I really like the way that this looks visually, very pleasing, and it continues to update the information. So we have the interface up top, we have our levels, and this shows us the link quality, and then we have the signal level, which is bouncing between -35 and -36 dBm. Here's our RX and TX, and we have some info. Now we can also hit F2, and it'll pull up this histogram, and finally we can hit F3, and it'll show us data from performing a scan. And this is just a simple scan to find access points around you to connect to. This is not a scan that you would do in monitor mode. And it has very nice colorization to it inside of the scan window. Another adapter on this table that also has a MediaTek chipset is going to be this adapter right here. This is the AWUS036ACM. This is also a great choice. Now, since both of these adapters are using MediaTek chipsets and they are both made by Alfa Network, I thought it would be interesting to compare the two in terms of performance and strength of the Wi-Fi signal. As you can see, this one has one antenna, whereas this one has two antennas. And they are comparable in price range. Okay, so let's go ahead and do a quick comparison between the two adapters. I'm going to run nmtui once again and activate a connection. Okay, so now both adapters are connected to the same hotspots. And I'm going to move the phone a little bit just so that they are relatively in the same position distance-wise from the hotspots. Okay. So let's go ahead and do a quick comparison here. In the upper pane, we are going to be looking at our Alfa ACM adapter. So I'm just going to rerun Wavemon on that interface. And in the lower pane, let's go ahead and get the name of the interface of our Alfa ACHM. And I'm going to run the same command, which is going to be sudo wavemon with a -i for interface and give it the interface of our other adapter. So we have two instances of Wavemon running, one in the upper pane, one in the lower. Upper pane is our Alfa ACM, lower pane is our Alfa ACHM. And for link quality, they are both equal to each other, 100%, 70 out of 70. But when it comes to the signal level, that's where we have a difference. So when looking at the signal level or the signal strength, once again, a value closer to 0 is a stronger signal. So the value closer to 0 is going to be coming from the upper pane. It's at about negative 29, negative 30, and in the lower pane it's at negative 37, negative 38. So in this example, the Alfa ACM clearly is outperforming our Alfa ACHM adapter. Most people are probably going to be looking for these adapters to purchase from Amazon. So if we go over to Amazon, right here for $42.79, we have the AWUS036ACM. This is the adapter we are looking at. For $42, it is very reasonably priced. And if you click on that, this is what it takes you to. You see that it says Kali Linux supported. And if we scroll down on the page a little bit, we do have specifications. And once again, it tells you here that the chipset is the MT7612U. Okay, so the final thing that we're going to want to do to test out the performance of our Alfa ACM adapter is going to be to see if we can put it into monitor mode and if we can do a basic scan. Because one of the things that sets these Alfa adapters apart from other adapters like a Netgear adapter is the fact that we can put these adapters into monitor mode or promiscuous mode, and we can do things like packet injection. So we want to make sure that we are in fact able to put the adapter into monitor mode and perform a scan. So what I'm going to do is in the lower pane, I'm going to run dmessage again. A -W, and I'm going to unplug and plug the adapter back in. Now first I will run airmon-ng check, and I'm going to do that so that it checks to see if there's any processes that could cause trouble. And if so, we want to kill those processes using airmon-ng check kill before putting the card into monitor mode, because they will interfere by changing channels and sometimes putting the interface back into managed mode. So we see we have 4 different processes that could interfere with this, so I'll rerun airmon-ng check with kill. And it only killed one of those processes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rerun the command until it kills all of the processes. And this could take a couple tries. So it killed off another one. Let's rerun it again. Nothing. And that time it killed the last 2 processes. So now that that is done, we can go ahead and run sudo airmon-ng and start and provide it with the name of the interface, and that will put the card into monitor mode. The name of the adapter was changed, so now if I run iwconfig, the name of the adapter is now WLAN0mon. So with the new name of the interface, we can go ahead and perform a basic scan to see if our adapter is working properly and has packet injection and everything is working as it should. So I'll do a basic scan by running sudo aerodump -ng followed by the name of the interface, which has changed to WLAN0mon. So we know that it is in fact working properly. As we see, we do have data coming back. Notice in the lower pane running dmessage that it does actually show you in the kernel messages that the adapter has entered promiscuous mode. So I'm pretty happy with the scan. I do see that it is channel hopping up here, and we are going through all of the channels pertaining to 2.4 gigahertz. So let's do one more scan to make sure everything is working properly, and this time I'm going to scan for not only 2.4, but I'm going to also scan on the 5 gigahertz range as well. And I'm going to rerun that command, and this time I'm going to add on -- band and ABG. And this will scan for 2.4 and 5 gigahertz, so we'll give it some time, and we should see in the upper left here the channel is now going up into the channels associated with 5 gigahertz. So we're on 114, 122, 130, and it's going to go all the way up and then go back down to 2.4. So the whole point of this is just to verify that the adapter is working properly in all aspects, so that we can not only put it into monitor mode, but we can perform a scan and not only scan on 2.4, but scan on 5 gigahertz as well. And what we see is that everything is working fine. So we are safe to say that this adapter works as it should, and it works very well, and it works out of the box without having to install any additional drivers, which is very good for us. So I will go ahead and do a Control-C to quit. I want to give a big thanks to the people over at Alfa Network